Anya's opinion. Chapter 13, Eagerness to see Lord Gaurakindra. O my dear Lord Gauranga! I am to be deprived of the association of your lotus feet, because I wish to go to Sri Vrindavanadama. It suddenly came to my mind that I want to see your pastimes there. I do not know why I was overcome and goaded on by such a desire, but now I am regretting it. I feel like putting an end to my life. I cannot continue to live without seeing you. I do not know what I should do presently. Those lovely, reddish lotus feet of Lord Gauranga are my most treasured object. Alas! I am so foolish I left them behind me in Puri. Now I cannot see them as they tenderly leave their impression on the sands of Purazottamake Kshetra. I do not know the reason for my coming here, it is only my restless mind that must fly about like a loose bird. I am losing my head in this confusion. My feet drag me away from him although my mind refuses to follow. My stubborn nature goads me on, oh! The whimsical ways of love, they turn me into a dancing doll. Completely confused, I feel like a lifeless man. Lord Gauranga's playful ways are incomprehensible to me, and it plunges me into an ocean of distress. That which I most desire remains beyond my reach. I do not know my own mind any more. I want to relinquish my life for Lord Gauranga, yet death escapes me. I throw myself into the ocean wanting to drown, I choke and splutter being profusely dunked in the salty ocean water. But the intense yearning to see the moon-like face of my beloved Lord, makes me quickly swim to the sandy beach. And when I search for him, he is not there any more. My mind takes wings, swiftly, I run to the temple of Tota Gopinatha. In the courtyard of Sri Gopinatha's temple I see the divine face of my Lord, and I fall down unconscious in a state of ecstasy. On regaining consciousness, I look around and find that I have been brought inside. It must have been Gadadhara Pandita who brought me in. I faintly hear my Lord Gauranga and Gadadhara Pandita discussing me. Right away, tears well up in my eyes, and I roll on the ground, losing composure. I cannot bear even a moment's separation from the Lord, because my beloved Sri Gaurajendra always dances in the chambers of my heart. He does not allow me to end my life, and if I remain alive, then we constantly quarrel with each other. I don't know what can sustain my life. Therefore, it is incomprehensible to me what intelligence prompted me to act in this way. Although I am aware of my own nature, yet I wanted to leave the association of the Lord's lotus feet and go to Vrindavana. This would have certainly dashed all my spiritual hopes for success in this lifetime and the next. I received permission to go to Vrindavana, and now if I do not fulfill his wishes, then I stand to commit a grave offense. On the other hand, I will surely die if I am unable to see the blooming, full moon face of my beloved Lord Gauranga. I am thus tortured on the horns of a dilemma. Whoever has been captivated by Lord Gauranga's love is in deep waters, a precarious situation where there is a tug of war between life and death. This is the woeful condition of all the followers of Gadadhara Pandita. Even now you can hear everyone whispering to each other about these facts. Chapter 14, Contradictory Transformation. Perceiving Vrindavana in Navadvipa. Alas! I could not visit Vrindavana. Each time I made an attempt to go, the memory of my Lord's beautiful face brought me back. I began to meditate on his golden transcendental form, and immediately I lost composure. I became confused about the direction and arrived at some unknown place. First, I had set out in one direction, then retracted my steps, and after some walking I started to recognize landmarks, so I finally sat down. I don't know what is to become of me. If I continue in this manner, I doubt if I will ever reach Vrindavana. Sometimes I spend days and nights sitting wide awake under a tree, and at other times, I fall into a deep slumber deliberating on this matter. I sleep and dream that I have traveled to a faraway place. There on the ocean shore I see my beloved Lord Sri Gauranga's beautiful dancing figure. Gadadhara Pandita and all the devotees around him and dance in ecstasy to sweet music and singing, which is like sprinklings of nectar to the senses. After the dancing and singing stopped, my Lord Gauranga approached me, and taking me by the hand, said, "You left because you are angry with me, but tell me what is my fault if you are feeling restless. Now you have run away to Braja, leaving me here. Enough of this now. Come, let me embrace you and hold my breast against yours to drive away the desolation in my heart. Cook rice and spinach, sack, for me this afternoon and satisfy my hunger. O Jagdananda, my mind is bereft of joy since you left. In my condition I have just mechanically consumed food. You are always so cruel to me. I am yet to fathom the cause of your sudden departure, but all I know is that you left me morose and pining. Go and see Vrajadama, this will make you happy. But return very quickly, because I want to eat rice and sack prepared by you. Your cooking will resuscitate me, and I know this will also please you. And then, never again leave me in a huff." When I awoke from my dream, I noticed that Vrindavana, Vrajabhumi, was far away, but Ganga was very near. Oh, how wonderful is Navadvipadama, the transcendental abode where my Lord Gauranga performed his eternal pastimes. It is the exact replica of Brajadama in every respect. Bounding with gleeful exuberance, I came to Mayapur and went straight to the house of my lord. Entering into the inner quarters, I found Mother Sassi and offered my obeisances. We spoke about Lord Gauranga, the subject which is closest to our hearts, and then I went out to savour the opulence of Navadvipa. I thought I was in Vrindavana as I went around looking at the different places in Navadvipa. Thus, it finally occurred to me that there was no need to go so far away to see Vrindavana. If I can see my beloved Lord, then I forget all of my miseries and thus escape the excruciating pain of separation from him and his abode. Chapter 15, The Forenoon Pastimes of Navadvipadama. Whatever transcendental pastimes of Lord Gauranga comes to my memory I write them down, turning a blind eye to their chronological accuracy. Lord Gauranga's mercy. One day Mother Sassi very carefully collected Lord Chaitanya's Prasiddha remnants and offered them to me. I relished the divine nectar of my Lord's remnants and experienced sublime ecstasy. Will I again be so fortunate as to relish Mother Sassi's cooking of Asiata sak, a spinach that grows wild abundantly, and other wonderful preparations made from banana flowers known as mokaganta, kachusak with fried balls of pasted pulses and manchaki, nimba paddle, and dabhai bari, etc. Visit to the village of Gadigaka. Fully satisfied with the Lord's remnants, I joined Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda Prabhu and all their associates, who were moving gracefully like swans along the banks of the Ganga. We finally came to the village Gadigaka singing the holy name of Lord Krishna all the way. Sri Govinda played the Merdanga, Sri Vasagosa sang, and Srila Gadadhara Pandita and Srila Vakresvara Pandita danced ecstatically. Sounds of Lord Hari's name filled the air, the ladies' shrill voices rent the sky, and everyone was submerged in the ecstatic ocean of love of Lord Gauranga. I am very awkward at singing and dancing, yet I am also dancing with the others, waving high my upraised hands. This is happening because my Lord Gauranga has entered my body and heart and is forcing me to do it. I have no concept of either tune or rhythm, yet I am dancing and singing. I do not know how this is possible. I only know that my Lord the effulgent, moon-like Gauranga knows everything about me. The cowherd boys of the village served the Lord. Upon entering the village of Gadigaka, we went to the locality of the cowherders and milkmen, where Lord Gauranga addressed us, "My dear devotees. Now we will rest for a while on the bank of this pond and sleep under a tree. The cows are happily grazing and the cowherd men are resting under this banyan tree. Let us join them." Seeing us approach, many of the cowherd men came forward with yogurt, curd, butter, and other palatable delicacies made out of milk. Their warm welcome and fine food relieved our travel fatigue. Shri Nrazimananda, Shri Pradyumna, and Shri Purushottama Acharya all came to join us in the congregational chanting of the holy name of Krishna. The throbbing sound of the Merdanga rose above all of the music and drew everyone out of their homes. The loud, jubilant sound of Lord Hari's name rose up and filled the azure sky. The cowherd boy named Bhima, a noble-hearted cowherd boy named Bhima, approached saying, O revered sirs, my mother Syama is a very pious and well-respected lady in our community. She is the daughter of Sadhu, a cowherdman residing in Ganganagar. She is always serving Mother Sassi in her heart and calls her mother. On the strength of this relationship, you are my maternal uncle. Come with me, my uncle, and bring your whole group. Let them continue to happily chant Lord Krishna's holy name. Whatever milk and yogurt is stored in our house by my mother, I shall distribute to all of the devotees, and then I want to serve you by massaging your lotus feet. Lord Gauranga visits Bhima's house and eats sweet rice. When the Lord found Bhima adamant and determined to take everyone to his house, he was softened by his affection, and agreed to go to his home. Syama, Bhima's mother, welcomed every devotee with the usual loud, shrill sound ladies make by moving their tongues. She then arranged for everyone to sit down. Lady Syama asked Gauranga, "My dear elder brother, Pandit Anime, how is Mother Sassi?" The Lord replied, "Oh, very well indeed." Syama spread banana leaf plates for the devotees and served them with sweetened condensed milk. Neme and all of his associates relished and ate with great pleasure. The pond of Gauradaha. After eating, the Lord, accompanied by his associates, returned to the bank of the same pond and began softly singing the glories of the Supreme Lord Hari. A cowherd boy by the name of Ramadasa shyly approached the Lord, and said that for some reason the cows refused to drink the water from the pond. He said a fearful-looking crocodile lived in the waters of the pond, and having seen him, the cows refused to drink and began mooing and lowing in fear. Hearing this, Lord Gauranga started to loudly chant the holy name, and immediately the crocodile was attracted by the sweet, melodious singing. The crocodile quickly climbed onto the bank and came and touched the lotus feet of Lord Gauranga. By the Lord's touch he was instantaneously transformed into a celestial being having the form of an infant boy. He cried and offered prayers to the Lord and then narrated the sad story of his life. The infant boy's past life. The little boy said, "My dear Lord, I took this terrible form of a crocodile by the curse of the sage Durvasa. Wherever I went afterward, I terrified everyone. Once in the Kamiavana forest the great sage lay asleep. I, being a restless mischievous young boy, cut a few strands of his matted locks. He woke up in a rage and cursed me to become a crocodile and to remain in that body for the next 4 yugas. I began to bitterly lament and begged him to forgive me. The sage, feeling compassionate, called me and said, 'My dear celestial boy, when Lord Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaja, appears in Navadvipa as the darling of Mother Sassi, you will hear him sing the Lord's holy name, and this curse will then be absolved. You will regain your celestial form and transcend the 3 worlds.' The boy offers prayers all glories to the son of Mother Sassi. He is the purifier of fallen conditioned souls, the magnanimous shelter of the hopeless, wretched, and poverty-stricken souls. Your wonderful activities are eulogized throughout the entire universe. You are so merciful that you have saved an abominable character like me. Navadvipa is the super-excellent Dhamma, the essence of all the other places of pilgrimage, and it is here that the most munificent incarnation of the Lord has appeared in this age of Kali. You have come to liberate the conditioned souls of Kali Yuga by profusely distributing the holy names of God. I offer you my humblest obeisances, for you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For 4 yugas I have remained continuously in the hideous body of a crocodile, and now you have come and liberated me from this suffering. Certainly, you are the infinitely munificent, Supreme Lord Hari himself. To hear you chant the holy name of the Lord is so nectarian that innumerable moving and non-moving living entities have been saved by your sweet songs. My dear Lord, I beg leave of you. Now I want to return to my celestial home and see my parents again. They will be very happy to meet me." The boy goes back to his home. After the boy had recited his choicest prayers to the Lord, he offered obeisances and proceeded to leave amidst jubilant chanting of the holy name of God. Seeing that the sun had reached the meridian, the devotees accompanying the Lord prepared to go back to Mayapur. Whosoever hears this wonderful pastime of Lord Gauranga with faith and attention will become liberated from even the worst curse known as Brahmasapa. The result of seeing the pond Garudaha. After this incident, the pond became known as Garudaha, and it is like the Kalyadaha pond in Vraja where Lord Krishna subdued the snake Kalya. Just by seeing this pond or touching its waters, one becomes free from all sinful reactions. Gradually, he comes to the platform of pure devotional service to Lord Krishna. This has been explained in the Vedas. The cowherd men marveled at this miracle which took place right before their eyes. With great joy they lifted the Lord upon their shoulders, shouting, "All victory to our material uncle, Marna." Lord Gauranga's midday pastimes are identical to the midday pastimes of Lord Balarama and Lord Krishna in Vrindavana. Govardhana Hill, the Manasi Gunga, and Lord Krishna's pastimes of pasturing the cows all manifested simultaneously to the devotees at that site. These cowherd men actually realized the transcendental nature of Lord Nimai, for his pastimes are non-different from the pastimes of Sri Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaja. Chapter 16, The Nature of Divine Love. Srila Raghunatha Dasa Goswami inquires. One day Raghunatha Dasa Goswami inquired from Svarupa Damodara, "Please instruct me. Give me some inkling of the nature of divine love. I am unable to fathom the descriptions of love so sublimely sung by Kandidasa and Vidyapati. I extract only the external mundane meanings of love from their songs, which pertain to feelings of attraction between a man and a woman. How can such emotions be considered spiritual? How can mundane lust be called spiritual love? Lord Chaitanya is always singing these songs and relishing its mood with you, but I have no access into such intimate exchanges. The Lord has placed me in your hands to be under your spiritual tutelage. Please, therefore, guide me in comprehending these confidential truths. Please be gracious and explain to me the concept of spiritual love. With my doubts dispelled, I will remain ever grateful to you." Spiritual love. Svarupa Damodara Goswami replied, "My dear Raghunatha Dasa, I will reveal its esoteric truth to you in a solitary place. Neither Ramanandaraya, Gadadhara Pandita, nor I fully comprehend this spiritual truth which the Lord himself embodies. But if Lord Gaurakindra presides on the tip of my tongue and himself reveals this highest transcendental truth about himself by his causeless mercy, then you can be convinced that all that was narrated to you was the actual truth. Raghunatha Dasa, you will experience unmitigated bliss upon hearing this. Know without a doubt that the songs by Kandidasa and Vidyapati, the subject matter of the book Krishna Karnamrita, Ramanandaraya's play, are all peerless scriptures. The topics described in them are completely devoid of material lust. They are, in fact, transcendental compositions that contain and foster pure love of Godhead. Descriptions of men and women in these pages are simply used as substitutes. You must perceive their transcendental significance, because one cannot perceive Krishna in mundane literature which deals with erotic lust. Whether man or woman, as long as one is attached to the bodily concept of life and interested only in enjoying the senses, he or she will never be able to grasp spiritual truth. The spiritual master who claims to be a representative of Lord Krishna, but does not understand the Lord's pure loving exchanges, is not fit to be in that position. His show of devotion is deceptive. He is in the clutches of Maya and is, therefore, an instrument of Maya. Love of Godhead, Krishna's spiritual love of Krishna is untainted and pure like the sacred waters of the Ganges. That love is like an unlimited ocean of nectar. The devotee's spiritual attachment for such loving relationships is totally free from the slightest material contamination, like spotless white linen. Pure love of Godhead is like an ocean of bliss. If I could have just one drop from there, it could inundate the entire universe. I am so wretched that I am 100% attached to my material body and controlled by lust, so my original form of pure spirit is never manifest. When one is blinded by carnal love and rejects pure spiritual love, then Lord Krishna will never respond to his deceitful approach. But one who sincerely and earnestly implores Krishna for his mercy will certainly be crowned with success. The spiritual exchanges and emotions of one experiencing love of Krishna are transcendental. All the symptoms of transcendental loving mellows find expression in his person. The ecstatic symptoms of the conjugal mellow are of the super-mundane nature. they are always experienced on the spiritual platform between Krishna and the purely spiritual beings. Oh! How fortunate Lila Sukha, Bilvamangala Thakura, is! Lord Krishna appeared before him in person and elevated him to relish loving exchanges with him in the transcendental mood of Brajadama. Lila Sukha became detached from the demands of physical pleasure and developed aversion for mundane sentiments. This pleased Krishna very much. Vidyapati and Kandidasa developed distaste for non-scriptural, spurious spiritual mellows which they had previously accepted as true devotional sentiments. They had imposed mundane concepts on the spiritual exchanges between Krishna and his beloved devotees. By the Lord's mercy they became purified to understand the transcendental mellows. They rejected their immature sentiments and emotions and surrendered themselves to Krishna, always engaging in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. One who is too engrossed in the pleasures of the flesh never tastes transcendental loving exchanges with Krishna. Even the beautiful form of the boy Krishna playing his flute cannot evoke in him ecstatic emotions and spiritual sentiments. That unfortunate person identified the self with his body and is busy decorating it. When the thunderbolt of death strikes him down, then who knows what his next birth is, perhaps an insect or worse. On the other hand, if one can subdue the urge for material pleasures and develop real taste for loving devotional service at the lotus feet of Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaja, then he can see the exquisite face of Lord Krishna directly. He swiftly returns to his eternal home to sport in the forests of Goloka in his spiritual body, disassociating himself forever from previous identity and material association. The sloka composed by Lord Chaitanya: I have not the slightest tinge of love of Godhead within my heart. When you see me crying in separation, this merely indicates that I am conceited enough to try and demonstrate my great fortune. Indeed, not having a glimpse of that beautiful face of Krishna playing on his flute, I still continue to live my life like a moth, whose life is without purpose, except, at best, to rush into the flames and die. Only the gopis understand transcendental conjugal love. Everyone is talking about love, but who really understands what love is? One who realizes spiritual amorous exchanges with the Supreme Lord is truly fit to become a damsel in the bowers of Vrindavana. The word piritai, or love, consisting of 3 syllables, is famous throughout the universe, and whoever is touched by love, becomes totally obsessed by it, oblivious to shame or disrepute of this world. Gradually one develops the mood of the gopis, he begins to recollect his original identity in the spiritual world and cuts asunder all material attachments. Lord Krishna becomes the only object of love, and the soul becomes the repository of that love. He approaches the Lord through an intermediary who constantly reminds him of his beloved, Krishna. In this way, the conjugal exchanges in the mood of a paramour go on increasing. Parakya bhava, or conjugal mellows in the relationship of a paramour, is available in Vraja alone. Whereas this same relationship in Vaikuntha is absent between Lord Narayana and Lakshmidevi and is considered immoral. The Sahajiya's mundane sentimental love in the material world, a man's lust for a woman and vice versa, is misinterpreted as spiritual love by a certain group of people known as Sahajiyas. They will surely suffer eternal hell, because they artificially attempt to impose transcendental emotions on a mundane relationship. But when the Sahajiyas tread the proper path of devotional service and receive the mercy of Lord Krishna, they become disgusted with this body, the material senses, and the sense pleasures derived from them. They then begin to aspire for the transcendental nectarian mellows of devotional service. Raya Ramananda's love. Sri Ramananda Raya's devotional service is pure and simple and strictly follows religious principles. He is perfectly detached from matter and uses everything in the service of the Lord, although he is apparently situated in a physical form. His body is spiritual, and he is always serving the Lord in the Vrindavana mood. This is due to the fact that he has received Lord Chaitanya's mercy. He writes and directs plays utilizing beautiful actresses, yet he remains unaffected by such intimate contact with women, and he is always transcendentally situated. No one other than Sri Ramananda Raya is eligible to teach and understand the subject of divine love. One whose mind is always eager to see, touch, and enjoy a woman is never pure enough to learn the confidential truths of divine love. Pure devotion is impossible to attain for one who identifies someone as man or woman. One can never attain the priceless gift of living devotional service if his consciousness is polluted by association with women or materialistic men who are lusty for the opposite sex. The pleasures of the flesh are invariably transient and can never transport us to the transcendental realm. One who acts on the transcendental platform of rendering devotional service in the mood of the damsels of Vrindavana can alone cultivate real spiritual life. Through living in the mood of the gopis of Braja, he is no longer attracted to the mundane exchanges between man and woman. One whose external social dealings and conduct are perfect, like a gentleman following the path of true religion who never deviates from scriptural injunction, and internally he intensely cultivates the mood of the gopis of Vrindavana, serving the lotus feet of Lord Krishna with all his heart, is truly eligible for attaining love of Krishna. The poem, which begins with Ya Kamara Hara, the one who stole my heart in my youth, is really used as an analogy by Lord Chaitanya. One has to transcend the physical plane, and then the charming Krishna becomes his life's hero, and Krishna's consort becomes the heroine in all their transcendental pastimes. He then serves them with the purest love. Sahajiyas are fit for hell, deluded by Kali Yuga. If someone claims that by some artificial process the spiritual nature can be projected into this material world, that ordinary men can be worshipped as the Supreme Lord Krishna, and that by this method the supreme goal can be attained, then he is wrong. According to the instructions of Lord Chaitanya, such a proposition is unacceptable. I know such perverted intelligence will lead to hell. One should always avoid the association of those persons who consider that the material body can be artificially spiritualized. To enlighten such a person with Krishna consciousness is almost impossible. This idea has gained prominence due to Kali Yuga's evil influence, but such thinking will certainly lead to the degradation of the pure precepts of the Vaishnava religion. A person who has developed mature faith in God will understand the purports of the use of these analogies of material loving affairs, not taking them literally. Such an elevated saint worships the Supreme Lord Krishna in his original, spiritual body. Great spiritual personalities like Candidasa and Vidyapati are perfect examples of liberated souls who discarded their previous misconceptions and cultivated the pure devotional process. The highest concept in pure devotional service is the unalloyed worship of the transcendental loving exchanges of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Yet the nature of the mischievous, materialistic mind is to be reluctant to accept these facts. Dear Raghunatha, consider well these points carefully, because you are the devotee who will have to propagate the high standards of proper Vaishnava conduct in the near future. Reveal your mind to Lord Chaitanya about your desire to worship the Supreme Lord in this confidential and intimate mood and take his permission to do so. Become steadfast and determined, set your heart on achieving this end. Raghunatha Dasa Goswami then approached Lord Chaitanya, and he very humbly begged for his permission to execute devotional service in this mood. Lord Chaitanya consented to it in my presence, and Raghunatha Dasa Goswami now serves Lord Krishna with a very satisfied mind. Lord Chaitanya's instructions to Raghunatha Dasa Goswami: do not listen to mundane prattle and do not waste your time in frivolous discussions. Why eat to titillate the palate and maintain the body lavishly with luxurious amenities? Do not hanker for esteem and respect, but offer respects to everyone. Take shelter of the holy name of Krishna and chant constantly. Serve Srimati Radharani and Shri Krishna in the mood of Braja in the core of your heart. The Lord's unequivocal instructions opened Raghunatha Dasa Goswami's eyes of knowledge, and he understood that pure love of Godhead can never be cultivated without first being freed from all material illusions. Lord Chaitanya continued, through pure chanting and in meditation develop your pure, perfected, spiritual form, and worship Krishna, the Lord of Srimati Radharani. Free yourself from the desire for distinction and adoration. Always offering respect to others, cultivate complete detachment from material life and become as tolerant as a tree. Externally, your devotional service is to always chant the name of Lord Krishna, and internally, constantly engage in serving Sri Sri Radha Krishna with your spiritual body. Control your rapacious palate and give up luxury and comfort. Do only what is essential for maintaining your body. Markatavarajya or monkey renunciation. Do not try to artificially impose the transcendence on the mundane by imagining some mortal couple to be the divine couple, Radha and Krishna. This self-deception destroys all religious principles. Lord Chaitanya has warned us, a false renunciant is a person who is externally renounced, but who is actually always trying to enjoy the material world. He is like a monkey who appears detached due to his natural habits but is excessively attached to sex life. The pure renunciant, a pure renunciant is always engaged in chanting the holy name. He begs only what he needs to maintain his body. If one practices renunciation, not depending on Krishna but on others for his maintenance, then he will not achieve spiritual success. Krishna will also reject him. And if a renunciant submits to the urges of his tongue, he becomes a prisoner of his sensual urges and loses the chance of achieving the transcendental realm. A real renunciant is always chanting Lord Krishna's name. His diet is simple, consisting of leafy vegetables, fruits and roots, etc. But a lusty person who makes social calls on people's houses to gratify his tongue will never receive the shelter of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. Chapter 17, The Standards of Vaishnava Etiquette reflects the class of a devotee. On another occasion Srila Svarupa Damodara Goswami said to Srila Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, I have to tell you something very confidential. Religious practices without chanting are futile. The perfect varna-ashrama system is to maintain one's life by performing his prescribed duty according to varna and ashrama, constantly chanting the holy name and rendering loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. He who follows this is truly intelligent, righteous, and a real Vaishnava. Mere ritualistic performances masquerading as religion are cheating processes. They rob human life of its value and degrade the performer. One may make an attempt to act righteously without executing devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And he may belong to any social order of life, celibate student, householder, retired or a renouncer of the world, but his company should be avoided if he is not a devotee of Krishna. Acquire sambandha and act on the platform of Yudavarajya. Everyone should act on the platform of Yudavarajya using everything without attachment in Lord Krishna's service. This must be done with a true understanding of sambandha jnana, or knowledge of our real relationship with the Supreme Lord. When sambandha jnana further unfolds, one realizes that the Supreme Person is the object of all devotional sentiments, alambana. And when such alambana perceptions become purified, then love of Godhead, or prema, first dawns on the horizon of our spiritual consciousness. A devotee will be respected even by venerable souls if he renders devotional service and cultivates prema for Lord Krishna, but a living entity is no more than a pitiful mongrel puppy if he is devoid of devotional service. He is indeed a Vaishnava who is engaged in devotional service, not he who leaves home and lives by begging but does not worship Krishna. A devotee must never accept the remnants or flowers offered directly to a demigod, nor acknowledge invitations to ritualistic performances of karmakanda. Activities of householders and renounced devotees. Vaishnavas are broadly of two types, householders and renunciants. Both are qualified to perform pure devotional service, but their duties vary. Both are required to act on the platform of Yudavarajya. Thus, they steadily progress on the path of unalloyed surrender with devotion and knowledge. Duties of a householder. Vaishnava. A Vaishnava householder should always live according to the prescribed duties, graciously hosting guests to their full satisfaction. His spiritual discipline will not be impaired by his living or associating with his wife. Nor is it forbidden for him to use mustard oil or other perfumed oil. Foods like milk, curd, etc., which are considered by ritualistic brahmanas to be inedible and non-vegetarian, become wholesome vegetarian food for the Yudavaragi. He is always attentive in chanting the holy name free from the 10 offenses. He accepts everything favorable for the execution of devotional service and carefully rejects things that are unfavorable. His spiritual success and excellence grow by cultivating undeviating faith in the holy name. A Vaishnava of this stature becomes illustrious in his householder life. He strictly avoids fault-finding and analyzing others' behavior. He is compassionately disposed to all living entities and is dedicated to act for their benefit, always free from envy. Duties of renounced Vaishnavas. The renounced Vaishnava reduces his material activities down to merely maintaining body and soul together. He is disinterested in saving anything for the future. He avoids the slightest contact with women, and he wholeheartedly worships the Supreme Lord Krishna, Hari. Thus the different Vaishnavas act in their designated manner, and by worshipping Krishna and rendering devotional service to him, they find shelter in his internal spiritual energy. Vaishnavas are free of fault-finding. One should never make distinctions between householder and renunciant Vaishnavas. This mentality results in the perpetration of grievous offenses. The important fact to remember is that one who has a fault-finding nature is not a devotee, but rather he is a disgrace to the whole Vaishnava community. One should diligently develop his own devotional discipline with sincere simplicity, devotional service to Lord Krishna as the essence of all human activities. Devotional service becomes impotent for one who cannot subdue within himself the evil habits of fault-finding, deceit, dishonesty and deviousness. These sinful culprits act against the injunctions of Srimad Bhagavatam, and with uncontrolled senses they try to enjoy material nature. Anugrahya bhaktanam manusham daham asthita bhajate tadrasakrita yasrutva tatparo bhavase, SB 10.33.36, in the Srimad Bhagavatam it says, the rotten sinners falsely presume that they are Supreme Lord Krishna. Impudently they try to imitate Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes and pollute the process of pure religious principles. A pure devotee serves Sri Sri Radhakrishna. The pure devotee, who attains his original, spiritual form, renders unalloyed devotional service to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna in Vraja in the mood of a gopi. But the atheist, who is eager to imitate Krishna's mood as the supreme enjoyer, will surely be damned to the lowest hell. Antaranga Bhakti, or confidential devotional service, is never executed in this material body, but is performed on the platform of the purified mind. The foolish upstarts, given to constant fault-finding, think that such confidential service can be externally performed. Hence, the pure devotees carefully avoid such despicable, evil-minded company and simply serve Lord Krishna in their original, spiritual forms. Krishna is the Purasa, and everyone else is Prakriti. Pure devotees are satisfied in their constitutional position as Prakriti, the subordinate female principle, drinking the nectar of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. For Krishna alone is the Purasa, the supreme enjoyer male principle, my dear, revered Raghunatha Dasa. The householder and his prescribed duties. Then Raghunatha Dasa once again humbly approached Svarupa Damodara Gosvami with folded hands. I have another question. Please enlighten me. The highest and purest form of devotional service is above the prescribed religious practices of Varnasrama Dharma. Therefore, why is the householder bound by prescribed duties according to his ashrama, if he can easily transcend the duties of his social order and render spontaneous devotional service? Svarupa Damodara Gosvami replied, listen, dear brother, I will disclose to you the essence of everything by enunciating the principles of pure devotional service. It is simple to live one's life following one's prescribed duties, but if one tries to execute someone else's prescribed duties, then his life becomes burdensome and artificial. The sincerely devoted person intelligently executes from amongst his prescribed duties of Varnashrama only that which is conducive to pure devotional service. And by diligently rejecting those duties which are detrimental, he attains the platform of pure devotion. Therefore, one should not be overly attached to stringently following the prescribed Varnashrama duties, but he has to simply unflinchingly render unalloyed devotional service, and by so doing, he emulates the hallowed path of saintly persons. Rejecting the overly rigid rules and regulations of Varnashrama assists in elevating one to the platform of a pure Vaishnava. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. The most important regulation is to constantly remember Lord Krishna, and the strictest rule is to never forget him. Raghunatha Dasa humbly inquired further, I would like you to kindly clarify another point. I want to know the Vaishnava conclusion on this subject. The Vaishnavas are classified as Asi Uttagatra, lineage back to Asi Utta, the Supreme Lord himself. What is its significance and purport? Asi Uttagatra and Varnashramadhyuti Svarapa Damodara Gosvami replied, both the householder and the renunciant Vaishnavas belong to the Asi Uttagatra and not to any other Gotra. The pure devotees of this divine Gotra never become attached to the ritualistic practices of Varnasramadharma. The Vaishnava gives up his family Gotra and worships the Supreme Lord, taking shelter of his Gotra because this is the eternal Gotra stemming from the Lord himself. Devotees of this standard are eligible to become permanent residents of Braja, Vrindavana. The most perfect devotees find their exact position of service in Goloka Vrindavana while still residing on earth, and render service to the Lord in their liberated forms as Vrajagopis. Others, who are Arupasiddha, sincerely cultivate the mood of loving devotion within their minds. Pravarta, Sadhaka, and Siddhabhaktas. There are three types of devotees: the steady practitioner on the path of perfection, Sadhaka, the beginner, Pravarta, and the self-realized pure devotee, Siddhabhakta. One who can understand these gradations can easily know the science of devotion. The beginner is known as Kanastha-adhikari, or neophyte devotee, the sincere practitioner is called Madhyama-adhikari, or intermediate devotee, and the self-realized soul is known as Uttama-adhikari, or a devotee of the highest order. The highest order devotee is emphatically disinclined towards ritualistic practices. Both the Uttama-adhikari and Madhyama-adhikari fit the description of those belonging to the Asi Uttagatra. Aropa, superimposition or ascription, Raghunatha Dasa said, now I want to properly understand the meaning of aropa to dispel my existing doubts. Svarapa Damodara Gosvami replied, listen attentively to the symptoms of aropa. This method is for a practitioner who lacks knowledge of his real spiritual identity. There are three types of Vaishnavas, Arupasiddha, Sangasiddha and Svarapasiddha. First, I will explain Arupasiddha. Listen attentively and try to understand it. A conditioned living entity is essentially a gross materialist and is always inclined to associate with the material phenomena and continuously experience material happiness or distress. He is constantly interacting with material nature, is oblivious of the transcendental realm and has no knowledge or experience of the divine nature. He does not realize that he is of that same transcendental nature. He is like a child who feels forlorn due to a moment's absence from his mother, unaware that his parents are close to him. If by some divine arrangement and the results of his own pious deeds from his past lives he becomes fortunate, then his heart is impregnated with Sraddha, faith. Sraddha induces him to inquire deeply into the mysteries of life. At first he is informed that he is constitutionally Lord Krishna's servant. Understanding this, the sincere desire to gain freedom from this entanglement called material life takes shape in his heart. Worshipping Lord Krishna, the Guru instructs him to worship Lord Krishna, and the faithful person gradually develops a desire to worship the Lord on the strength of the Guru's words. He understands from hearing that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, but he does not realize his eternal transcendental nature and personality. From the world that surrounds him he identifies objects that remind him of Krishna. He worships the Lord and offers him objects he values. At this juncture the process of superimposition or ascription, aropa, begins. He obtains a statue of a human-like form of the deity, which to a neophyte is not the eternal form of the Lord, and worships it with incense, flowers, oils, and lamp, but without the proper understanding that the deity is non-different from the Lord. He tries to think that all of this paraphernalia and the deity is spiritual, and sometimes through thought ascription he actually experiences transcendence. At this stage, when he is induced to surrender the results of his works, even though the knowledge to act in a certain way is superimposed in the thought process without realization, it nevertheless helps him to become steadfast on the devotional path. These are the symptoms of Arupasiddha devotion that are manifest in the Kanastha-adhikari, the neophyte devotee. Worshipping the deity with proper understanding thereafter, when he fully comprehends the truth about the deity form of the Lord and begins to worship the deity as a manifestation non-different from the Lord, he gradually enters the state of a Madhyama-adhikari. On the Uttama-adhikari platform or advanced stage of devotion, there is no question of aropa, ascription, his purified mind is in constant communication. The first rays of love of God dawn in his heart, and he sees the Lord with eyes anointed with the salve of devotion. He worships the Lord of his heart with spontaneous devotion, discarding all kanastha mentality, i.e. ascribing the devotional mood. Pure devotion, by nature, is not the same as the simulated surrender, or invoked devotional mood through aropa, although aropa is certainly a part of the process of bhakti. The basis of aropasiddhi, one of the prime symptoms of an aropasiddha in that he relate to mundane objects and activities with a devotional attitude. Obnoxious and perverted material activities and objects, even when offered to the Supreme Lord, do not automatically becomes transformed into devotional service. So, such a devotee offers delectable things and renders favorable service to the Lord, not really knowing what offerings please the Lord most. This devotional attitude is called aropasiddha bhakti. Worship of the deities by the Mayavadis is considered by them as a temporary means to achieve liberation. Hence, for them, such worship is aropa, whereas on the path of devotion, the ultimate perfection of attaining one's spiritual identity is non-different from the process by which the goal is reached. Perfection through pure association or Sangasiddha Bhakti. Now hear about Sangasiddha Bhakti, which means the spiritual perfection achieved through the execution of pure knowledge and devotion. Pure knowledge of the Absolute and proper renunciation are the main symptoms of Sangasiddha Bhakti. Devotion is always accompanied by the knowledge of Yuddhavarajya, renunciation through utilizing everything in the Lord's service. Humility, compassion, and tolerance automatically appear as devotion deepens. These qualities are concomitants and assist one in devotional life, they are its integral part. Devotion on the platform of spiritual perfection, Svarupa Bhakti, direct, spontaneous, and pure devotion to the Supreme Lord is possible only when one is situated in his original spiritual identity, Svarupa. Hearing, chanting, etc. are the 9 kinds of activities performed in devotional service. Svarupa Siddha Bhakti, devotion performed in one's original form, begins with pure chanting of the Lord's names and pastimes. The prime objective of these unalloyed devotees is to offer direct devotional service to Lord Krishna which pleases him. In the other 2 types of devotion, Aropasiddha and Sangasiddha, this objective is not in full focus. The inherent spiritual qualities which lie latent, locked within the soul, which also provide the spirit soul the inclination for a particular devotional mellow, are the ingredients that evoke pure devotion. They manifest in the mind of a conditioned soul as his initial, but covered spiritually mentality. This proclivity is aroused and then becomes rampant in the conditioned souls who are rendering service to the Supreme Lord. Pure devotion seeks such inclinations to flourish in. The effects of these 3 types of devotion. Svarupasiddha is direct and spontaneous devotional service. Sangasiddha assists and enhances pure devotional fervor. Aropasiddha is effective only where the material concept of life is prominent. The neophyte, or Aropasiddha, if he desires to become elevated to render transcendental devotional service, must destroy this concept first. Srila Raghunatha Dasa Goswami fully comprehended Srila Svarupa Damodara Goswami's elucidation. These wonderful spiritual conclusions by Svarupa Damodara Goswami about the Svarupa, the original spiritual form of the soul, are my, Jagai's, constant companion in meditation. Chapter 18, Sri Ekadashi. One day, Lord Gaura Hari went from Gundika Mandira to the Jagannatha Vallabha gardens and sat amongst the flowers. The day was Ekadashi. He celebrated this auspicious occasion by chanting the holy name incessantly, day and night. Present with him were Svarupa Damodara, Ramanandaraya, Vakresvara Pandita, and the other resident Vaishnavas of Sri Purazadamakeshitra, Puri. The Lord said, "Today, all of you should refrain from eating and sleeping, and constantly chant Krishna's name. Some of you should chant japa, some of you should circumambulate the temple with prostrated obeisances, and others should discuss the pastimes of Lord Balarama and Lord Krishna." Everyone became spiritually surcharged by the Lord instructions and busied themselves with different activities, chanting, Govinda, Govinda. They felt intoxicated with prema. Suddenly, Sri Gopinatha arrived from Gundika, accompanied by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. They were laden with Lord Jagannatha's Mahaprasada. They placed the prasada of cooked rice, a variety of vegetables, pitha, panna, sweet rice, curd, and yogurt before the Lord. At the Lord's bidding, devotees offered respectful obeisances to the prasada and then continued chanting the Lord's name deep into the night in an ecstatic mood of devotion, free from all material desires. Early next morning, the devotees begged permission from Sri Gaurahari and went to take bath. On returning, they sat down and respectfully honored Mahaprasada, breaking their Ekadashi fast. They experienced ineffable bliss, and falling to the ground they offered obeisances to the Lord and spoke to him in great earnestness with folded hands. Ekadashi in Puri Sri Hayavasara, Ekadashi, is considered to be the most important vrata, vow of fasting. It is to be observed by maintaining complete fast and without sleeping at night. We also know that Lord Jagannatha's Mahaprasada must be respected at all times in Purazattamaka Kshetra. It should be honored by eating it immediately upon receiving it. Therefore, we find ourselves in a dilemma as to how to honor prasada on Ekadashi. Please tell us unequivocally the conclusions of the scriptures on this subject in a manner that would convince even spiritual stalwarts like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. This will dispel our disquietude. Lord Chaitanya's conclusion. Lord Chaitanya replied, to not observe complete fasting on Ekadashi will greatly endanger one's spiritual life. Honor prasada on Ekadashi only by offering it obeisances and eating it the next day. In this way, one can easily cross this material ocean. The fast is anyway over on the following day. All Vaishnavas, beloved associates of the Supreme Lord, are very pleased when Ekadashi is properly observed by simply relishing the nectar of Lord Krishna's holy name. One should not taste anything nor should any mundane topics be discussed on Ekadashi. All physical pleasures should be proscribed. It is a Vaishnava's duty to daily honor and eat only prasada, for he never consumes unoffered food. On Ekadashi he observes complete fasting, and the next day he breaks his fast with Mahaprasada. And if, for some reason, one has to eat on Ekadashi, then let the Vaishnavas take anakalpa, a light meal consisting of merely fruits, roots, and milk, without grains or beans or other prohibited vegetables. The non-Vaishnavas gourmandize without control, offering only lame excuses that they are honoring Mahaprasada. They do this on Ekadashi, because they are engrossed day and night in sense enjoyment. They enjoy grains and rice on Ekadashi and thereby eat the sins that enter grains on such days, disregarding the sanctity of Ekadashi Vrata. You must diligently execute devotional service and respect the process of devotion. You will then surely receive the blessings of Bhakti Devi herself. Avoid the association of non-devotees and properly observe the Ekadashi Vrata by constantly chanting the holy name. Try to realize in your heart that there is no offense or contradiction in refusing Mahaprasada on Ekadashi or any other important fast day. It is inane to observe certain spiritual disciplines and vows while neglecting others. Earnestly observe prescribed vows on designated days and timings and in an appropriate devotional manner. Sri Jagdananda, Krishna, is the Lord and ultimate goal of all vows and devotional activities, so observe all spiritual vows for his pleasure and satisfaction alone. Therefore, remember to abstain from eating, drinking, and sleeping on Ekadashi, and so the next day honor prasada with full relish. The devotees present, both from Bengal and Orissa, were experiencing intense joy upon hearing the Lord speak. They chanted, Govinda, Govinda, in blissful appreciation. Svarupa Damodara, Ramanandaraya, and other stalwarts felt ineffable exultation. O my dear brothers! Lord Gauranga is the most valuable treasure of my heart. Worship his lotus feet, freeing yourself from duplicity. This can help you to easily cross this insurmountable ocean of nescience and experience everlasting peace, beyond anxiety and death. Chanting the holy name and observing Ekadashi Vrata are both eternal spiritual activities, hence they are on the same devotional platform. Therefore, become sincerely fixed in executing these activities. Chapter 9